House, we better. 5 o'clock in New York, and this is the 5.
You don't have a sheet this fall.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so should we do roll call just so it's all, okay? Go ahead, Nick.
Mickey Iron, Ward 1.
Sure Ward 1.
Ryan Sidman, Ward 2.
Brian, Ward 2.
Deborah McIsaac, Mayor.
Well, then go away.
Okay, should we do a pledge?
Yeah.
Since it's a meeting.
And I gotta turn around for the head.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Budgets. Budget. What?
Did we lock?
Nope.
Well, because the pizza people.
You can put your hand down now.
It's in for that, when I ordered on. I can see from here, so I can see if somebody's at the door. I'll watch. Get the bathroom door in the way. It's almost in the way. Let me get it.
It's in the wind.
We'll keep it.
Yeah, I'll send the same cookies for.
On their
Fresh and everything.
What are they? Is there oatmeal in them?
I think so.
Oatmeal, chocolate chip, they're amazing.
Okay, so huge thank you to Deb Paulside for making us warm cookies to get us
Thank you,
through
Deb.
this budget meeting. So thank you very much for
So
that.
nice.
We'll never turn away cookies, right?
She'll be bringing the second batch down.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so what else do you guys need to, before we get
Oh,
started?
Brian had said somebody had, some estimate on equipment.
Oh, but he's not here yet. So I mean, I know where it is. I talked to him earlier about it.
Oh, okay. So
Yep.
he's not here by the time.
Yep,
we're done.
if he's not here, you can leave it there, Lacey. I know where it is.
Oh my God, these are good.
Yeah, they're very good. Oh, they're cookie. I'm gonna get some coffee.
I'm getting some, that's why I'm here.
Oh, okay. Thought you were getting you some. Yay, thank you.
Do you want any creamer?
I'm waiting on Lacey for coffee. Yes, please. And another cookie.
You know what? She works for Tips.
Oh, well, then you can have a cookie too.
Yeah, I always think food, give you money.
That's fantastic. So it looks like you guys did a really good job putting this stuff together, so I'm excited for you to go through.
Yeah, I am too.
Ready?
Random, where do we start? What's our first page?
Okay, let's start with general fund revenue, because we always have to do that.
Revenue work.
General fund revenue, where's that?
That is this one here, City of Baltic estimated general fund revenue. Trying to put them anywhere.
Yeah, and then I missed them all up.
Oh, so is it this one? No. City of Baltic. Oh, estimate board or. Yeah. Thank you, Travis.
I'm still not there.
Estimated revenue, general fund, I think it's right there.
Revenue worksheet?
Yeah.
There, I got it now. Is the last on the very bottom hiding. Okay,
Yeah. Okay, like every year, we take the last couple of years and we, try to find a trend that, so that we know what to guess for this year.
Okay.
And, no big surprises except from our budget note paper. This one, it does say that,
I don't have a budget now.
It was the very top.
oh, that's over here, because you probably think you came in late. Or no, I gave it to you earlier, I hadn't got it
I
done
got
yet.
a free one.
Okay, so property tax revenue was up 30,000. And finals are not in yet. We always have to wait. It's right under the wire, but that's what she gave us yesterday. Sales tax revenue increased. We estimated about 20,000.
Do you know what the percentage of increase was? Just curious.
No,
Okay. Well, it's good. It's a good
it's
thing.
about 8% maybe. 20. Yeah, 8%. About, yeah. And that's an estimate, you know, we never know what's gonna happen. We just kind of follow the trend here and try to guess what we're doing. We have, okay, so then garbage and more increased 4,000. They're gonna increase 4,000 every year.
This contract was for 4 years, is that right? Was it 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, it's 20, it was 3-year contract.
I can't remember if it was 3.
So
Those
we
days.
got 1, 2, 4 years. It starts in April.
Okay.
Yeah, it increased last April. So,
When we voted to adjust those, did we factor this in?
yeah, it's like it's gonna be close at the end there. Maybe it
Okay.
was 4 years. It's gonna be close at the end. We're gonna be right.
Okay.
We're
Oh,
not gonna
that's,
be making.
that's accounting for fuel prices too. We're at the top of our adjustment for fuel pricing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we
get a little relief there.
Yes.
don't know what's gonna happen there.
And then.
Well,
and
at least you put a cap on it, so it can't keep going up.
And then,
Hit the cap rate.
right.
So our building permits are 87,000 just from January to July this year.
Okay, that's because of the school.
It's huge, really.
So that's
How much of that was the school, do we know?
70, I
70,
think it was 71.
yeah, 71. So we didn't have much,
So that won't be replicated.
no.
Okay.
That's why we only did 25 for this year. Because we didn't, you know, because I looked at that too and thought, how in the heck did that happen?
So, but look at this, if you take 71 off that 87, that's still 16,000 just from January to July.
Yeah.
Which is only like 1,000 away from all of 2022.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
wonderful. The year before there was more, than
So let-
Hopefully that trends upwards even more if we can keep good houses built and et cetera.
Boy, if the permits would come in, that'd be great.
Okay, speaking of, have you seen any building permits yet?
No,
How many weeks have that been?
we've only received the one, and that was prior to everything
Right.
being turned back on, and we've still not received any.
And what date did we turn them back on again? Was it like July 26th? Or am I just making that up? I'm probably making up that date. Okay, never mind.
Okay, now, engineering fees, like you'll see the council, well, this is expenditures.
Okay,
Oh, wait.
let me just, hold on a second here.
We're still doing this, okay, the rest is expenditures. But anyways, no big surprises. This rental property, that is money water and sewer pays to the city for all of this stuff they use.
Sure.
And we increased that just a little. And,
Can we go
otherwise,
back up to liquor licenses for a second?
uh,
Can we go back up to liquor licenses for a second?
sure,
Okay. Because right now we're about doing 1,500 a piece. Is that how we're doing it? Is it 1,500 a piece? Okay, so we probably need to have a conversation of how do we want to address, video lottery for future stuff. So that's gonna be a talking item going down the road, because that is a revenue item. In the past, we have, had a piece or a slice of the video lottery, right? And then when the business is closed, when we brought them back, I believe the previous administration had made a decision not to do that. And I know that we have current agreements in place, but in light of the fact that we're gonna be ramping up our commercial development, I think it's worth at least considering or talking about, or maybe putting an earmark in here. Cause I don't know if we have, would it be under liquor license? Cause it'd be under the operating agreements is where that would be, or it would be another revenue.
Licenses or something.
we always had, we had a separate fee in Crooks. It was
What if-
$50 a machine, I don't know if that's gone up since then. It wasn't a big money maker, but that's what we did for video.
I know in light of the fact that there have been several inquiries about casinos potentially coming to town, and that would be their sole source of income. I do think that there's something, I don't want to penalize the people that already have video lottery, but maybe we could have a step scale or, you know, so that way they get back up, and then once we figure out where that's at. So it might be worth some due diligence just to see what the current market rate is for municipalities and how they handle it.
Up to a certain amount of machines or something.
Yeah, because what is there, like 4 other towns in South Dakota that have operating licenses like we do, where we get command of that? And so maybe we need to take a look at that, or, you know, maybe Lacey research what other people are, like, what does Sioux Falls do? Because I know that they did some serious looking at the casinos and like put limitations on and things like that. So I'm not sure how any of that works, but since we're talking about revenue, I think it's appropriate to bring that up, to at least research it before we finalize this. And I also think it would be very prudent for us to come up with a structure going forward, grandfathering existing businesses in, of course. And, but if we have new businesses come in, I think that that's a revenue stream that I think is missed, and we need to take a look at it.
The operating agreement, we struggled with that
Yep.
because we don't have a answer yet, so we just put $3,000 down for that. We don't have that in place yet. Again, it expired. So that is another biggie.
Which one again?
Operating agreement,
OP agreement.
op agreement, yeah, annual, because we don't have a contract, we don't have contracts in place. That's been an item we've talked about.
Is that what you're talking about?
Very confusing.
The operating agreement is the
Yeah.
operating license thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the license.
We need to get a handle on that. For another year goes by.
Yes, it has to be a priority.
But
Okay.
the total budget went up about, $72,000. Because of property, mainly because of taxes. And the sanitation revenue went up, but also the expenditures, so that didn't help us much, but.
And the sale of municipal property, that is that lot 74 that we got the
Yeah.
taxpayers' dollars reimbursed by the ADF. So that's not an ongoing thing. That's a
No.
one-time
That's one time.
recovering those tax dollars.
And we were gonna change that to land sale because it,
So this is without that 100,000.
Yeah, it shouldn't be municipal property. It should be,
this is,
tax reimbursement.
So we need to,
no, that has nothing to do with next year's budget.
okay,
Yep. So then we'll go to expenditures, general fund expenditures, and that's this little pretty thin here.
Soon tax.
Okay, wait a minute, camping fees. We estimated $4,000 in revenue for camping fees, but we've only collected $423 and the season's almost out. Did we have a downturn on camping?
Rover Pass pays every few months,
Okay,
so we've only received one check from them so far.
and that check would be like, what, through May or through June or?
I don't remember. It's,
Okay,
They're real behind.
yeah, they're very
Okay.
behind on.
so that's not an accurate.
Because it was like February or something last year when we received the last, it was very cold.
All right, so that's not accurate.
Camping numbers up this year. Do you have any idea? It doesn't seem as busy this year.
It's not been as busy this year.
Well, then you've got those 2 campers down there that I'm assuming that aren't paying.
There's been a lot of issues.
I think there was trouble with the sheriff to install it.
They had problems with people, so.
They didn't wanna. enforce it.
Where does the wheel tax come from again?
The what?
The wheel tax?
The county.
County.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
trans-
Highway and bridge, motor vehicle, liquor
Okay.
tax, those are all county.
Okay.
Road rate license.
Sure,
State grant, that's just the West Nile grant.
sure.
They kind of limit that. You don't get much more than that or anymore.
What was other licenses? Because you have the animal license and then other licenses. Was there some other license?
Yep.
Oh,
like a
had those
driver's
stuff.
license.
And what else did we decide that was? Because we lowered it because it was way too high.
Right.
Where like your fireworks stuff goes, and your.
Yeah.
Just random.
Oh,
Football.
good call there, Travis.
Random licenses that don't. follow.
Okay. Just bear with, bear with.
Ice cream. Truck was coming here.
Yeah.
The bank franchise, help me understand what that is again.
That comes from the state. We have no control over it. It's just a guess. I called once years ago.
What is it?
It must be, some tax they collect from banks. I don't, I called them once because it had like tripled years ago, and they said, we can't guarantee it'll stay this way, but you know, enjoy it while you can.
Got it.
But it does go up a little bit.
Interesting.
Went down, so we're guessing 12,000.
But I mean, look at this, it does it just pay out once because it's 9,600 in 2022, but January to July, it's already to 11.
Yeah, I think you only get one check a year.
Okay, so maybe that came in and that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I think you only get it once a year.
okay.
Because,
And liquor tax, that's off sale and on sale together or?
yeah. It's just an
Yeah,
educated guess. But because I didn't know how much, we were like, what do we do? Do we put it into operating agreement or do we, you know, how do we
Oh, I see what you're
divide
saying.
this up?
Yeah, yeah, because you report under the operating agreement, but you want the line item that says, okay, that makes sense. I get you. I'm following you.
That's really hard for me to get my head around that operating agreement. Because these liquor licenses come from the state. But they're yeah, so anyways, if I have time on election day and it's not busy, I'll have, John explain it to me better. Let's set with them and try to figure that one out. So anyways, we will look into video lottery income and get John going on the operating agreement. Anybody have any questions? Okay, now we'll go to general fund expenditures. The pickup will be paid for in July of 2024. That's $721 a month. Hallelujah. This one. There you go. And, so that's a nice, I mean, a little bit, not much. Ryan had some equipment requests. We'll wait for him. The shopping guide ad, I wondered if you were still interested. It went up $5 to $125 a week. So it's 6,500 a day. A year.
Aren't we required to announce in there certain things?
No, not in the shopping.
Yeah.
Just we got it.
Okay.
It's not a subscription.
The city journal.
Public.
Oh,
It's not a legal paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the shopper is just, we did it at will to
That's for
communicate because it went in everybody's mailbox.
What does Lacey think of that? Since she was one time doing that job
What do you mean?
as far as restricting it back.
I don't know. Let's talk to her.
Should we call her in?
Yes.
She'll be back. She's coming back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We should ask her about that.
Little boat.
I know sometimes we struggle to find something to put in there. You know, sometimes we're really busy. I mean, sometimes there's tons. And then other times it's like, okay, what did we have last month? Do we want to
I think that's natural though.
It's nice to have those constant reminder bank
Yeah.
to pick out of too if you need to just the general things that you forget or don't know the process or whatever.
Yeah.
You can have a little file of all those handy, just to put it there if you run out of space.
Yeah, I think from
Yeah,
a
you know,
calendar standpoint, there's always stuff we can,
You can always-
we just have to probably think of it in advance instead of thinking it the week before, you know, and then, but we can talk to Lacey about that. I'll take that as an action item.
Have you got any feedback on people? Do they still comment on it?
You know, honestly, I haven't had feedback in a really long time on it.
You say yes. Nick?
Yeah. I think Marcy and Dave cut it off and put it on their refrigerator.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, there's a win.
you know,
We knew that when we made that decision, it was one way to get everybody in, right? Because it goes in everybody's mailbox every week.
Yeah.
Whether or not people look at it, we can't control, but at least we can say we're doing it.
It's like every apartment getting a copy.
Everyone who has,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you just can't beat it.
In the area too, not just, city of Baltic, it's everywhere.
Yeah, because then we use it for promotional too for people outside of Baltic, but it's one way definitely to reach the citizen, but otherwise it still reaches the surrounding areas.
Okay, we put a contingency in here of 40,000. What that, and that's the economic development money we saved. That's nice because if you go over, in a department, you can just make a motion and transfer that instead of an ordinance, you know,
Oh, sure.
so hopefully. And then it can even, you know, if we get an emergency in another department, we can
So
transfer.
liquid money you can use in the future.
So.
We ran over in a park project. It just,
Rather than save that or something where you need to.
that's really good.
I mean, you can by law go to 5%. Last year we just couldn't afford to put money in,
Right.
but it is very nice to have.
You can have a 5% contingency money, just
5% of your budget. You got.
The economic development 10K was that.
Oh, that is like promotions and, you know, promoting the city, things like that. We had last year, we had almost 44,000.
But that was largely salary, right?
Yeah, that was 40,000. So we decided that 10,000 would be a nice number because that newspaper ad could actually go in there.
Sure.
It's promoting I mean, that's what I never seen.
Yeah, really.
It was
Well,
promoting.
and I think the other thought of that too is now that we have Jake, the guy that does the drones. I had talked to him to get us a quote of what it would take to do like a promoting Baltic video or promoting, like from a residential standpoint and also a commercial standpoint. And so if he can help us create some of that, we could do some really creative promotions to be able to bring businesses in and have that angle, but then also you want to live here. So you want to live here and you want to have a business here. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know what his bill rate is, but I would imagine if we do that, that would be a perfect place
Oh, yeah.
to have that. And then, if we choose to do the community guide next year, that's not at a cost to us. So that's zero to us, which is really nice. But also, from an economic development standpoint, like if we wanted to go to, like, when we go to the Sioux Metro Growth Alliance event, you know, I don't know where that falls. Does that fall with memberships or registrations? But that would probably fall under the economic development.
It could.
And so that would be another place for that. But there's also, some other things that we could invest in as a city to ensure that we're being, ahead of the game on economic development. So I've just been doing some more research this week in all my spare time. And I have some other fun stuff to show you guys. So. Okay.
Sanitation, like I said, costs went up. Streets, trying to keep that healthy. So hopefully he can get some repairs done.
Well, with streets though, I also believe that we should have a very serious conversation about alternating with our chip seal program. Because this is the second time around that we've done South Sixth Street for chip seal.
I think the whole map is gonna be redone.
And there are a ton of streets that are allocating out and soft spots are coming through to where the street needs to be repaired. Not just Lovely. 4th Street from Lovely all the way to the last street. Norton,
North.
Meteros?
south,
So
4th Street all the way south to the waterway, what's the word? Viking. That all needs to be replaced.
Okay.
Third Street up and down the hill needs to be replaced.
So maybe what we need to do is figure out when the last time it was chip sealed, and we probably have that in a calendar, I imagine. And then maybe we need to revamp it.
Well-
I didn't talk in, it's beyond chip sealing too.
Yeah, it's beyond that.
I'll
You can't save it anymore.
Lovely.
take it. Well, yeah. and that's-
Well, so are these others,
Yeah,
so are
there's
these
a
residential
lot of high
streets.
streets. If you buzz around town with golf carts some night, you can, it's very obvious. which
So you can fall off.
but Yeah,
Yeah,
Vikings like, well,
Because-
it's rough, but
yeah,
taking inventory of what we have, might be time well spent to take inventory of what each physical street's condition is, and it's probably that big, we got to do, knock that out very easily, just to see, make a priority list of what sections need to be done, and revamp the chip seals.
I feel like streets committee coming on.
well, you don't need a committee for it,
I
though.
think I'm looking.
But you,
We got maintenance guy.
you have streets that have been chip sealed and they're in good condition. But you have other streets that you have up and downs because they're settling, caving in, water main breaks.
whatever, and the asphalt is only good for. Original asphalt's only good for 8 to 10 years, and if 10 years is pushing harsh alignment. So it doesn't have to be done every year, and chip seal doesn't have to be done every year. You can alternate every 1 or 2 or 3 years and pave so many streets, chip seal so many streets the next year or whatever. It's such a small town, you don't have to knock it all out in 1 year.
So 7-year swing. for chip seals.
Yeah. 7-year swing, okay.
Is there other means of funding that we can get to help uptick our infrastructure? Or is that is just 100% property taxes and revenue?
Well, what do you,
Unless you're.
what about on the main road through town?
That you might be able to get.
Yeah, because it's part of a highway. I can't imagine or county road, or whatever, but I can't imagine we wouldn't be able to get something for that. Especially after the school placement right there.
Well, initially, that was kind of one of the reasons why we didn't, or in the first place, because there is utility improvements that can be underneath it. Always you're better off doing it when you do utility improvements.
Right.
Or if any. That was part of the reason we held off to see if there were improvements that could be done. Maybe that longer term, but from what I talked to Ryan, I don't think there really is anything that can be granted or get funds for as far as improvements go in Lovely. Just don't think that in there.
I'm gonna
There-
put Justin to,
You might be able to talk to the county about doing a co-op kind of a bill with that, but
I don't know,
very unlikely.
I don't know if they would.
Well, because the
State and
state,
city, it's E.
state and Sioux Falls do it all the time with their highways. But it's a county road.
I think it's 73.
the city of T had a special
Yeah,
situation because
yeah.
they like went all in and made it really wide.
Right. But there was work with the county and utilities and everything that all happened on it.
Mhm.
I think that helped contribute to some of that, but
Mhm.
We had them help on chip sealing once. They did the labor for us and we paid the supplies.
But the streets aren't gonna get better in the future. They're all just gonna deteriorate.
Mhm.
And chip sealing is a Band-Aid. Mill and overlay is a Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that lasts longer
Yeah.
than what we have now.
what's the cost difference too?
And cost goes up every, what was that?
With the cost difference from the chip seal to the overlay,
Mill overlay is more expensive.
But it lasts longer.
longer lasting.
Well, you're just, mill overlay, you're taking off 2 inches, putting
You're just
2 inches back on. Yeah.
Instead of just laying stuff over your surface, you're trying.
Right.
Just
And then 2, 3 years after you overlay the street, then you come back and you crack seal and chip seal. to Keep that from deteriorating.
So
It's
you
all a long process.
you get that alligator out of there.
Because the longer you wait, the more it pushes out, then you're gonna have soft spots, you're gonna have a mess.
It's gonna happen regardless. You just.
Yeah,
Like I said, you just.
it's just, we gotta get it back in the
We just need to
rotation.
go, there's been so much change as far as roads goes and adding roads. Putting off certain sections because they didn't need it. The whole thing just needs to be revised.
Well, now as the developments continue, you're gonna see an increase in traffic in certain roads too.
Mhm.
Back when I had to do all of this, because we didn't have a maintenance guy, back in the old days, this guy from the state told me, you take care of your good streets, because your bad streets are gonna stay bad. And you wanna save your good streets, so that's where you spend your chip sealing and crack sealing on. To keep those good, and that's what we always did. I mean, sooner or later, you gotta do something, but
Right, and overall, I mean, there really isn't that many bad streets. I mean, Vikings hands down worst, but even all the old chunk, they're just soft spots. They're not full blown stretches of potholes and you drive a long time before you can pothole in town. So it's just more settling than anything.
Yeah, the potholes aren't,
There's a couple manholes.
Probably
It's-
fantastic compared to some.
it's the actual separation.
Well, and Justin said when we do Lovely, we don't have to do Lovely all at once. We
Right.
can do part of Lovely and then part of Lovely and then part of Lovely. It doesn't have to be like take out the whole main street.
Yeah, I think Lovely's a really good opportunity to really look at it from a long-term picture instead of just, hey, we can go there and blow the service line.
Absolutely.
But actually going in and thinking about putting a shoulder in, where everybody's parking on the boulevard, and they're gonna keep parking on the boulevard, widen that out and give them the parking spots. With curb and gutter right there, do you widen it, up in front of Murphy's Pond and school area? Wouldn't hurt to widen it there.
I gotta tell you, I really think between Fifth and Sixth, we need to look at diagonal parking before we actually have some serious commercial development coming in on that land. The easiest way we can change all of this, speed limit problems that we're having on Lovely is actually put parking on there and make it a streetscape is like the verbiage that's used because, think like Phillips Avenue. Everybody innately goes slow there because there's people coming in and out from parking. And I know it seems a little weird to talk about that now before we actually have businesses there. But if we take out that third lane to put diagonal parking there and we have utility easement on the south side, we don't have a turn lane there, but we could make diagonal parking, so it's on both sides. Then it allows the business owners to move their buildings closer to the street. So that way it's a little more visible, a little more walky, we can do, think of like when you come into Baltic from the east side, if we really did this right, it would be a phenomenal entrance into our city. Having, think the street post lights with the baskets and the, like a sidewalk, and then you have diagonal parking, and then you have benches, and then the commercial development will naturally creep up to the street instead of having this huge parking lot between them and the people. Right? And then if they need parking, put it in the back, it's fine. But then when you come in, it feels cozy, it feels like a home, and it's all green space right now. So if we really, and this is obviously from when I spent time with Strong Towns, but kind of, we stood there on the street and we're like, holy cow.
Slow traffic naturally.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that analogy of driving down Phillips Avenue. I've never seen anybody speeding through downtown. Phillips Avenue. It narrows it up. You're always watching for people. It's a natural instinct.
Well, and what it does is it creates more parking for the park. So when you're going to the park, you have parking for that. People can cross the street to the park. Now, obviously, we might have to consider if we can get easements from the commercial properties to have walkways to the park.
Sure.
So that way there's a way to get there. But if we design it correctly up front and the commercial landowners are on board with that vision, can you imagine how cute?
If you've got a walkway.
I know you don't care if it's cute.
If you got a walkway through a business, it could actually help a business.
Well, and those things are deep. Those lots are deep. And so I've been trying to get a hold of Les Rowland and we'll connect soon enough, but I kind of would tell him a little bit about this and say, hey, because we were already going to put like an 8-foot sidewalk in front of that building. And we may not have to do that. And he would be thrilled to move his stuff up because he has all those big patios right in front of all the spots. And so it warrants community. It warrants, strolling on a Saturday morning, coming to get, whatever your coffee or your dog or whatever it is, we're looking hard for a bank. So if anybody has a bank, bring the bank. And, but if we can get this done before anybody breaks ground and we agree that that's the direction we want to go, I think it's a game changer for Baltic, because if you come into town and you can't come in straight, you're gonna be slow anyway. Then you hit the block of the school, right? And like you said, maybe we widen it, we make walking paths and stuff like that. Then you hit the Memorial Park. And then if we can pull off the St. Olaf and make our city center Fourth and Lovely, it changes the entire dynamic of the traffic on Lovely. It will naturally change, natural. And so, something to think about when we do Lovely, because, honestly, we could start at 5th or 6th, which I know doesn't seem like the most important place to start, but because there isn't that crazy infrastructure, we could start there and then work our way down.
Yeah, bring it down, Memorial, Veterans Memorial gives parking over there, additional parking for school, for games.
It's just win, win, win all over the place. It does. And then it shows that we're prepping for the future.
I think having some sort of comprehensive layout of priorities, or having an engineer actually lay that out, make sure your roads are gonna line up with existing roads, we're not shifting things too far off the side.
Sure.
Yeah, just in general, I think this is our chance to be able to tackle that and do it right for the next 30 years.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Not something, and
It's not a reaction.
that's why we haven't made a decision even in the last council, because we didn't want to do it preemptively. End up with a $250,000 bill. It's like, well, that's obsolete. So I gotta start over again.
That's right.
That's why we put it off so long, just to do it once, do it right.
Yep, I agree.
That's the goal, is to do it right the first time.
What I know, Justin has the CIP bullet points, and I talked to him extensively on this whole diagonal parking thing, so he's looking into it. And yeah, so he's gonna come back with CIP priorities. And so again, if you guys have citizens that are passionate about how we're gonna design the future of Baltic, the CIP committee is a great place to start. And then from the CIP plan, we'll develop the comprehensive plan that obviously we'll all approve it. But the CIP is the great short start of what can we do quickly and when, and then go from there and do long-term plans.
Well, I love slowing down.
Oh, 100%.
To me, it's the commercial traffic. I saw it again.
All them
It's
trucks. are
not the
ridiculous.
people in town. It really is the commercial traffic that's traveling through that. There was a business out of Sioux Falls labeled up on the box truck. He was cooking by the school at 10 to 3.
Yeah,
Well, and I gotta tell you, they say that if you slow down traffic, people will quit driving through town. No, they won't.
No,
No, they won't. And as much as, people suggest the little blinky thing of like, you're going this speed. I was talking to Justin about that and he goes, yeah, but the thing is, it's kind of like a cop car. You slow down when you see the cop, you slow down when you see the sign, but then you speed back up again.
yeah.
Well, doesn't
And-
help with the gravel downhill all the way through town.
100%.
Semi,
Yeah,
100%.
right.
naturally, it's supposed to.
But if we create clusters, of things happening in our community, like Fifth and Sixth is a commercial corridor, then we have the school, then we have Murphy's Park is our city center, and then you turn up to go to Main Street. And then you have the next block, which, whatever happens with the North Trailer Park, and then you have, Classic Corner, and then you still have that commercial opportunity from Iggy's Place all the way to the railroad track. I mean, there's different pockets there where we can be thoughtful of how to do that, so people aren't tempted. They're not tempted to go
I
fast.
think it invites business too.
100%,
yeah.
100%, because if people can see it, they're like, oh, I want my business there. I think it makes all the difference in the world. So, okay, did we beat that dead dog enough?
Street.
Yay, at least we were on topic. We were on topic. That's good.
So there is 47,000 remaining. Do you want to put it in streets? Try to get something done next year with these soft spots, and
If you want to make contingency, could then.
I can't put much more. I can only put 5% of each.
You split it.
I could put 5%.
Well, when it comes,
What are the expenditures that are under streets? I mean, just if we're gonna put,
Streets and parks is too easy ones to allocate additional funds to because there's such a wide swath of what you can do and they're just general quality of life improvements. that you can see.
Split between the two of those, streets and parks.
I mean, we're talking about doing stuff to the Heights Park and to add swing sets and all this stuff together.
Yeah,
Parks may not opposed to divvy it between the two.
I think we ended up with money for the other parks project. I think we did the swings.
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it covered. Dog days took care of it.
Oh, really?
No.
Or wasn't that part of it?
Carnival.
Carnival.
Right.
So in the CIP plan, Justin has the Baltic Heights Park in there. And we hadn't really allocated funds in the past for that. We know we need at least 80,000 for those basketball courts. And so that might make a ton of sense to put it in parks for that reason, because we still need to find money for that. When we were talking about, because we've talked about sidewalks forever, right? And so Justin is gonna, I think he's got it ready. I don't know when it's coming. I'll have to check my inbox. I might have it today. Oh, no, I think he did email it to me this week. He shows the 5-phase plan for sidewalks. So we've taken a look at Baltic and we've evaluated the sidewalks and the condition of where it is now and when it makes sense to how to move forward with sidewalks too. And so, he wanted to have the CIP committee take a look at that. And so, maybe we can show that to you at the next council meeting, because that's coming to,
Is that, so assuming you're gonna use either right of ways or yard frontage or that's without one, how are you gonna allocate the expense to that? So you're gonna take all that?
that, well, I'm not sure yet, because when I told him, I said, okay, if we're gonna 5-phase it, 5 phases, I don't know if he means over 5 years. It was a.
Okay, yes, these aren't raising it here.
But I said, okay, so if we're gonna do this and we treat it like a capital improvement plan, and we're gonna cross the city and make sure that everybody's, curbing, gutter and sidewalk, whatever, so we have safe passage, how much of that can get funded? And he said, well, it's reasonable to assume that 40% of it could get funded. And so he's got people at ISG going ahead and researching that, trying to figure out if we can find additional funding. But other than that, typically how that gets financed, as everybody knows, is through property assessment. And so, oh, I know. However, if that ends up being the way, it's the only way to get it done, and that's, after we've taken already the funding out and all that kind of stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, if they do assessments, they can drag that out. So it becomes affordable if that is the case, like 7 years, can't they take assessments?
I think it's 7 anyway.
Yeah, so 7 to 10 years, you can assess that out.
You can set the time and the interest rates, but are you talking about this for parks?
No, I was just trying to figure out what to do because I knew Justin has this 5-phase sidewalk plan. And so I'm trying to figure out, does that go into streets then? Or where does that go
If we assess,
if we assessed?
yeah, it would be its own sidewalk,
Okay, so it'd be a separate thing.
yeah.
Okay, and then it would pay for itself because of that sans
Yeah.
funding, because obviously funding would offset.
Yeah.
Everything.
Grants for 40% of cost.
He believes it's reasonable that we could find 40% funding.
They could, we as a city kick in.
I don't know because I haven't seen any of the numbers. But that, I just wanted to throw that out when we were trying to figure out where to put this money, but. And I really do believe that Parks is probably where it needs to go if we want to beef up Baltic Heights, but that's up to you guys.
How do you feel about the street number looking to you, Linda?
I mean, is that gonna be enough for us?
Being comparable to last year with more projects on our scope, to me, it seems short.
Yeah.
So maybe,
I could see-
I don't know what,
maybe we just split.
I don't know what all is in that 237 for our budget for expenses this year. Was there equipment that got allocated into that number? Or? I mean, we didn't have $237,000 of expenses in street projects. I don't think this year, did it? We paved, in front of your dad's house, but. That's,
Well, we've got, that lovely overlay is in the budget, isn't it? That small stretch that they're just gonna mill and overlay where all the holes are.
Put
Isn't that in there?
130 into.
That's in this year's.
investments.
Yeah, right here.
130,000
37.
for 2023.
So we've got a $100,000 extra in there.
So, and Ryan does have has a street project coming up, but it's not anywhere near this.
so we're gonna fall well short of that budget.
Equipment was only 8,000. And then the chip sealing comes out of that other fund. So that's not included in this. That comes out of the street assessment fund.
Okay.
So if reasonable suspect, we're gonna end up a long way short on that expense for the year
In
on the streets. If we're only at 125 currently,
for this year, you mean?
yeah,
No, we'll be okay this year.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're gonna be well under what we budgeted for.
Yeah, we'll be under.
Yeah.
Because
But that doesn't mean that we can't.
he doesn't have any huge projects.
Right, just the mill and overlay is really the only remaining
Yeah.
project that we had talked about.
One thing streets has that's kind of misleading is, street lights.
I was just gonna ask about lights.
And
Yeah.
that's really expensive. Like we budgeted 22,000 for 2023, and it's not gonna be enough. We're at 20 already,
So
so.
what is the cost share on lights? Cause doesn't Excel own the lights or is that different?
Yeah,
I thought
we
so.
rent them, like.
So we get charged
So
per light for,
What's the
They
running cost? on it?
they replace the bulbs.
right?
It's almost 2,000 a month.
It's like a lease.
2,000 lights. How much is it to put in a light?
Oh, I don't know, they do that.
Okay, so they put them in, but then we pay rent on, 'em.
Yeah,
and they're $2,000 a light.
no,
No,
2,000 a month
A
for
month.
the electricity.
Okay,
The lease,
so if we wanted more streetlights,
it would cost us.
cost
how,
us the expense of putting the light up or cost us the
No.
expense of maintaining or of.
Just the
Right,
utility.
lease would, so 2,000 a month thing.
Yes.
Increase by 50% would be a
We
$3,000.
just we pay a little bit of a lease payment, and then we pay the, electricity.
Was there a light study ever done?
I was gonna say,
We
if
talked
that's the
about-
case, we should be putting in more streetlights.
It's dark.
Well, these LED lights that they put in
Yeah.
are
Same way.
low quality LED lights.
It's like, get me.
They only cover right where the pole is. They're not very good lights.
That was a couple of years ago, because we complained about that, and now the new ones just shine. right
Yeah.
now.
Halogen lights shine more than these do.
Yeah, but to
And
figure out exactly how we can get more, I mean, we should be allotted so much lighting basically. I mean,
Yeah.
we should have it to a certain amount of brightness. And I think, I know we talked about a light study at one point. I don't remember if it was this group or if it was a previous.
Oh,
group,
or something
but
else. Yeah.
I know there have been talks about that because there are dark spots in town to figure out
Oh,
if there can be more lights.
So if
Our
we
area
do-
is terrible.
But if we do lights, then maybe we should think about bumping that up to this year if we have extra money in the street budget. That might be a good thing. Right?
So you
I'm also thinking that if we,
We can't really increase our expense overall if we're paying $2,000 per month for how many light bulbs?
That's pretty cheap.
okay, so hear me out though, because one of the things that we want to do for St. Olaf, from a future standpoint is make it like a kitschy downtown, right? Because if we can draw people there, then the commercial businesses will come. One way to do that is through streetlights.
And the fancy ones are more expensive.
And the fancy ones.
So like there's a certain number out there that's like, I mean, like studies for other communities, they kind of utilize or something. It's like,
Very expensive lights.
Are they?
Oh my
like,
God.
is there a certain?
I knocked one down.
That's
Big enough snow.
I know there is a
Very
light study
expensive.
you have to take out.
that measures how much, basically how bright or how much light is emitted in certain areas.
Like a state.
I made a note of that. I'm
Yeah.
on it.
Like
I
a
got
standard
it.
like practice of what it.
Yeah, like I feel like our area of town should be allotted so much light, you know, it should be so bright. And midway,
I think we'll have people.
Yeah, because yours is really dark.
our area is really,
Mine is-
I mean, the trees don't help, but
Yeah, but
it's
it's
still,
dark.
there's not much for streetlights.
I think all of that part of town is dark.
Well, I gotta tell you, I got a street light outside of my house. I can't even sleep. It's
Tree
like
streets.
daylight, so,
I had pretty good when I was on Elm, but I think it was right in front.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have light study as an action item, but I just wanted to throw out there as an idea. If we are under on streets, then maybe we should consider, sprucing up our St. Olaf area and making it a little more,
Inviting.
downtowny.
Yeah.
And not so cementy,
You mean more like Phillips Avenue?
a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, and maybe that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a way to do it, and
And-
because yeah, so Justin and I have talked extensively about how to,
Well, it's not like you're gonna have 90 lights.
no, it's 3 blocks.
Yeah.
It's 3 blocks, and so, I mean, it's not like crazy.
No.
And so, it's definitely, something to consider, so I can bring those numbers back to you guys and see if it's something that you wanna do, because at least it would set the tone.
Yeah,
yeah, I'd like to see numbers first. I would more.
Oh, sure.
Divvy the money more towards our existing dark neighborhoods.
Right,
versus-
oh, 100%.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
the tree streets, part of the issue of the tree streets, right, is the fully developed trees, so you're not getting the
Yeah.
natural moonlight at night like you would be.
oh, it's my black backyard is just.
Yeah.
80-year-olds maples that are done.
It's a canopy. It's a canopy.
There's.
In Huron, I think it is, not Mitchell, but Huron or Mitchell, but I think it's in Huron, so municipality and government surplus company
Really?
that is only for municipalities to go and buy things. Okay, I can't remember the name of it, and I can talk to a buddy of mine about it again, but it's something worth looking into
Okay.
because they do sell things online.
So Travis, to follow up on what you said, I'm gonna talk to Justin immediately about a light study. I'll send an email tomorrow on that.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out what kind of investment it takes on the city to do that. But if the electric company installs it, that's not our expense and we're paying leasing, then that's a very small impact. That, it's a big impact for a small expense we can do. We
Right.
can do quickly, especially since days are gonna be getting shorter pretty soon
Yeah.
here. And then on the second, thing, we could maybe take a look and see what it would cost to get more street lamps, at least for Lovely, or
Yeah.
not Lovely, for here,
Oh, St. Olaf.
St. Olaf. And then maybe take it down to 4th Street just to kind of start that thing, because right now people don't even know we have St. Olaf. So if we can try to draw some attention to that, this is the way to downtown. Streetlights are a really easy way to do that. And so, but I'll look into that, but obviously the light study is the priority in making sure that we have appropriate lighting.
We're gonna light up your block, perhaps.
I know. Then you're gonna be like me and you have to get blackout shades.
Unless your house is at the back of the house.
Okay.
I very happy
Well-
with some items because of the smaller trees and the blocking.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have any problem figuring out what we wanna do with this street budget. There are plenty of opportunities of things that. we can
Yeah.
do.
Well, since the splash park I wanted to get built got kicked out because
Well,
of
maybe-
somebody else's basketball courts. I think, maybe to get the basketball court plural, built, maybe the 47 should be allocated to that, so it's built. Get it said and done, and get it done right.
So if we end up with overage in the streets department at the end of the year, what
Well,
happens?
you gotta remember, too, we
Back
got
into
40
the
grand
kitty.
up here.
So then we could, if we actually have money left over, we could actually put that towards Ryan's splash park, so he'll be quiet.
But
No, I'm not gonna be quiet about that.
we also have this 40,000 up here that we can easily move to any other
Right.
place, right? So
Have you actually got any estimates or talked to any companies about pricing on splash parks?
Yeah, the original price was 150, and then when we came back again with Justin, it was 300, but we don't know what elements Justin was considering
Okay.
versus the very first one,
Right.
because we went out, was it Beaver Creek?
Yeah.
Is that,
In fact, I've talked to her extensively on, just the park stuff, because that's what she does. And that's what she commented, is you can get a decent splash park done for 150 grand.
that's what we thought.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
if we find that we're not ready for street lamps, but obviously a splash park is a bigger priority than street lamps. 100%. And so, maybe that's something that we can do. So we have the money there, we know it, and then we can start, because this is the time that you start talking to people about that right now. So that way it can be built in the spring.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you the courts in the splash park would get used.
absolutely.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
And it's giving people back their money and amenities that they deserve.
100%.
right.
Well, and look at all the little kids in this town. My God.
What are we gonna do next spring when we have infant swings, we have basketball courts, and then we have a splash park? Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
Have you looked at the water usage from that splash? park?
You
It depends on what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, but it's a lot more expensive to recirculate it,
Yeah,
because then it's gotta treat it. and it's gotta-
Oh, so
filter usage and,
Yep.
yeah.
But if you can do just outgoing.
Yep, you can just use that and you can factor that into your wastewater.
So you take it back to little kids, and I think we just want.
Yeah.
It only goes on, you can see more present.
There's a timer. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
motion activated or whatever, so it's only kicking on whenever somebody's actually
Yeah.
using it. You know, obviously, there's like maintenance and upkeep in the winter time.
And what they did at Beaver Creek is they had a free will offering, so when people used it, that they could donate it, and it practically offset almost all of the expense of the splash park.
People would have no problem.
you know, it'd be like taking your kids to the pool.
But if you did a fundraiser deal, like the drive-by carnival or whatever, and you did it, where this is, you know, we decided we want a splash park, that's what we're gonna go for. You'd have all kinds of people antsy to.
Yeah,
I think so
I
too.
would think,
I think so
we
too.
could talk about it forever, so.
And so, well, this might make our splash park a reality next
Give
year.
me my part,
You mean your part?
my part. Baltic,
So
South Dakota federal surplus.
I like the idea of splitting that 41, splitting that into both of them. We still have the 40 grand we can utilize for anything else.
Mhm.
Sure. So
So you want half in streets?
having streets, having park.
Okay,
And
half
then
in
that
streets,
still
half in
leaves the
park.
40, cover anything that we go over in the
Mhm.
park or the street.
Well, and would the park be the walking path? Because we really need to finish that walking path in front of the flags. Because, Travis, did you guys ever get, a quote on what it would take to do a walking path from the Baltic school sign to 4th Street?
No, because I think we're holding tight on that until the Veterans Memorial is done,
Okay,
so we can figure out how that's gonna intertwine together. I
okay.
wanna say if you mirrored the asphalt path that the school has, I wanna say the path that's what the school has is like 45 grand. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, well, that's encouraging,
That's blacktop though, not concrete.
but I think blacktop is the way to go, so it matches the other one.
Honestly, at one school, I think it's.
It works fine, yes.
Why? Yep.
But- Yeah, the cost change difference between the two.
So does that fall under parks or does that fall under streets? If we did a walking path from the Baltic school sign on Lovely to 4th Street?
And that's where you can find the money.
I would think it'd go under parks. If it's like a safe routes to school or something, that would go under street.
There any.
I don't think we're gonna get safe routes to school on that because we have in-town busing and we make too much money in Baltic. That's the grants that we never get.
Yeah, I don't know about, Brian had mentioned that if you have in-town busing, you don't.
Yeah, we do.
Well-
And our average income is way too high. We're like 70,000 more.
I know
for average
Valley
income.
Springs got one. They did it in phases. But they had buses in town, but I think those were going to Brand.
Got it.
No, so
Well, that 40,000, 47,000, we put that towards doing the walking path to at least complete that. At least we have safe passage, you know, along lovely, at least for another block, from at least Fourth to, what is that, Fourth to Douglas?
Is
Mhm.
that gonna get utilized? My question-
People walk their dogs all
Right.
the
Yeah,
time.
I'm just thinking for school passes, because, even the walking path at the school doesn't get utilized a lot, because the cut straight across is what everybody uses, walks right through the grass. If
Right,
there's a better
Yeah.
place to put it, that might be.
They walk
I'm just looking for,
on the side of the football field.
I'm just looking at the connectivity. If we have a path and it just stops, it makes sense to at least finish it on that city
Oh,
block.
I 100% agree too.
Yeah, and then the school could definitely handle
But
how they wanna do it from,
Yes, I would assume they put one.
boy, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
how surrounded would that be with the poles though and some memorial?
Yeah, you wanna wait until that.
Because it's,
Actually, the whole,
you know,
the original intent of that was to have a walking path around it. So to put a walking
Right.
path on the front side of it is actually kind of takes out phase two, because phase one would be the elements in between the flagpoles. Phase two was to do a walking path, and then phase three would be the parking lot. And so walking path in front of it actually helps this concept, and it helps move it forward faster, because people can walk in front of it and actually look at the statues, whereas right now, they would have to stumble down the hill and stand in the grass.
What is
So-
what's all the cost share with the Legion on the memorial?
Right now, they're paying 100% to put those elements in.
Yeah.
And so we're not.
Are they doing any of the landscaping around the poles?
I am assuming that they're
Curious what
going to do
blankets
landscaping
they're on,
around their
what they're
elements.
Stuck with versus what they're
No, I think they're doing the landscaping around the elements, because I think they can get it donated, is what I understood.
Yeah.
probably not asphalt.
They had no walking path at
no,
this time.
they were, yeah.
So about that 47,000.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Wouldn't that be great to earmark that, so it'd be under parks? So instead of splitting it, what if we put it under parks and earmark that to finish out that block in front of the flag, so when the items come, it's there?
It would be maybe half,
Good.
not even half,
What do you mean 47 would be only be half of that?
not even half, because you gotta move all the dirt, you gotta get a good foot base, then you gotta bring in the company to pave over your good base.
I was just going off Travis's number, so.
Right, but I'm just thinking long-term expenditure.
Well, no matter when we did it, we would have to put,
It's, I think you should just put it towards parks
and then we'll try to figure
and
it
just
out,
figure out what you can do with it.
whether it's splash park, walking path, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Good.
Then it's splash park.
Under budget
Yeah.
for streets.
I like it in parks. What do you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like,
I
we
think
had
that's
a,
a good idea.
we had a answer on those streetlights.
We have 113 streetlights, and that runs us about $3,500 a month right now.
Wow,
Yeah, that's expensive.
I know we want more streetlights.
113 streetlights.
Yeah, it's 3,500.
How many of the, how much is that a light?
That's okay.
It says unit charges $23, $25,
$31.
$21.
31 bucks for a streetlight?
Go
There's
down the rate.
There are 3 different types of wattages in the bulbs.
So realistically, if we're talking back roads and dark roads, you're probably closer to the $20 per light. Or
Oh,
Yeah, because we probably got the cheap lights over there.
Yeah,
Travis, I'm with you. I say we do it before we.
the big
Oh,
project cost one.
Yeah, once snow in the dark is a real pain,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna put that under parks.
Yeah,
All right.
and then,
Oh, library, 4,000.
hold on a second. Doesn't the library need a new roof?
Yes,
That's what I was gonna talk to you about. They've had some incidents we need to get someone in there to check it out, because what if all the books got ruined?
Oh, yeah, it'd be horrible.
So
So anyway,
anyway,
need a new roof.
I'm thinking that could come out of capital improvements that it has to, this account that we have.
Or you can get that bill for it.
We have in our fit money, we do have capital improvements with 195,000 in there.
Well, here's what I can tell you, is we have had many, many conversations about upticking events at the library to bring more traffic to the library. Kathy Faith did an amazing job, and they had like 170 people come to the library on dog days for that little event with the little buttons and everything, 170 people. That's crazy.
That's a lot of people.
That's crazy.
Space.
Yeah.
And Kathy Faith gets measured on traffic. And I said, well, there is no reason why we can't start driving traffic to our very own library. A lot of people don't even know we have a library.
Yeah.
Right.
And now that we're putting together the new citizen packets, people will know up front the different amenities that we have. And so we can definitely push the library. And if you think about it, we talked about this. As we get to know our citizens and understand what their needs and wants are, there is no reason why the library can't be a place for, like, let's say moms who have children under the age of preschool. And so maybe there's story time, maybe there's different activities in the library for those moms that need to meet people, because what we're hearing is the only way they meet other moms is at their own daycare. Well, what do they have? What do we have, like 5, 6 daycares in Baltic now? So the easiest way to build community is bring people together. So if we have activities in the library, and I'm not saying we have to do this, I'm just saying Kathy Faith could probably help. Maybe the auxiliary can help with that. There's a lot of opportunity there to maximize that asset. And since that building does belong to the city, I think it makes a ton of sense that we put some attention to that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Travis is ready to eat. Should we take a minute?
2 minutes.
Better eat before it gets cold.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for getting us started, Travis. So, investing in the library is a solid thing to do. Another thing that we may want to look at is out the back door of the library is maybe have a little patio there in case she ever wants to do an activity that's not appropriate in the front, kind of like what we did with, the carnival.
Don't have to worry about what's running around. It's nice and enclosed.
So it might be worth thinking about something like that in the back, and utilizing that land. I mean, it's ours. So, or, do something where it's a little safer for the kids, in front of the library too.
Yeah, versus.
Yep, something.
Neighbors.
So I'm all on board with the library, but, and maybe some other stuff.
Brian will probably spend all this time.
Excuse me?
That based on your.
I don't need chicken on pizza.
That's
Stutter. I don't like that. This is pretty nice. Yeah, let's go. I got some, thank you, sir. Don't worry, Joe. We always do that.
Anybody else, anybody need any damn things, Travis?
I do actually.
Yeah, I'm bringing it to you.
There's water and stuff in the fridge in the next room if you want some.
Yeah, I think I will, because I don't think coffee's gonna go very well with this.
No, it's not. It is not. So, so the allowance for the roof, she already has that budgeted, is that what she said?
We got the money to fit.
What's the amount for that?
I don't know, she said 4,000, I think is what she had set off for that, but I think we definitely need to do it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been-
this money can stay the same and then we got the money to prepare everything.
It's not been so bad this year. I know we talked to Kathy last year. And then when you got some of the windstorms, it's
What about spending
Yeah,
that?
you don't want water to get from the library.
a flat roof too.
Yes.
What about, all the libraries and flat roof?
Yeah.
Someone say, what about,
For someday and.
what about not a metal roof, but metal shingles? But if it's a flat roof, that doesn't, that's not gonna work.
I don't know if it's a rock.
So they get to build their own.
It's probably rock. Or the tar paper.
So Linda, did we have any estimates on what it would be to replace that roof?
Oh, yeah, Ryan has climbed up there and looked at it a couple times and, that's all I know.
We probably better get a price on that, because if we're gonna do it, we should probably do it before winter.
Well, it's.
In the event we have another 3 feet of snow.
Yeah,
It's borrowed time,
It
especially
not this year.
could do it.
Whenever there's a good rain. And then she's concerned about the mold.
Last year she got mad with the one windstorms. It just
Right.
blew it right in there. It was rough.
Well, and the doghouse just replaced theirs,
Right.
Mhm.
and they've got the same type of roof, I'm assuming. Speak of the
There he is.
Some pizza.
man of the hour. So are there any more questions on expenditures? I guess we should ask Ryan.
Probably a good time to go through Ryan's 2023 equipment request.
Yeah.
You're just in time, Ryan.
That service, that's that Oaken Douglas. Please.
Just an item. Anything else?
Lacey, what we probably need to do is take, the transcript reviews. Put that in the newsletter, so people understand the things that are on the horizon. Okay, and so I'm saying that more for posterity, so. we can do it.
Where we at? We're just looking at you for, you got equipment.
Yeah, last expenses we're working on, it looks like you've got some.
Okay, so looking at playground equipment, I've talked to 3 different entities. They haven't sent me, so I had those prices and I went with 3 manufacturers. And they haven't got me back prices, so this is after that, so one of them said they could have product here probably 2 weeks to a month. The other one said that you can't get swing sets until December. So I don't know on that one, but it's going to be like the same pricing is. The one that I talked to today, it seems like it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. So I'm just guesstimating, like that budget might be, what we had put aside might be ate up with just the equipment. So I'm looking at probably the wood chips would be, probably an expense would be probably a truckload would do the 2 new pieces probably. So, and I'm thinking we couldn't find pricing of what it was before, and I reached out. And I guess I could check my email to see if she responded back to me, if I was trying to get a price, because I seen it was around that 25 to 3,000 for like a truckload.
Sure.
So that would be, one of the things would be, a expense next year. Would be that for like out of the parks. Lost it. Oh, this is one that I know I was talking to Linda to see, if there is any money available this budget still for crack sealing and, mastic repair on the Baltic Heights bike path. So I don't know if anybody's walked it.
We actually have money.
So I got it, just guy has been calling me off and on, and they're, if Cats or Concrete Brooks Cats or whatever, it's his tri-state pavement, which is a subsidiary. I used highway improvements. He just was kept hounding me, so he came in one day, walked the whole bike path and gave me like $6,200. But I mean, I haven't got another estimate. It seems high, but I haven't done crack sealing costs and for a couple of years, but he had like literally 2,400 linear feet of crack sealing. And then the expensive one is like 152 linear feet of mastic, which is $10. And that's heavy duty.
Sure.
But that was for anybody who's been up there by the concession stand,
Yep.
that curve, how bad that's kind of
Yep.
falling apart right there. That's where the mastic repair is just kind of, it hasn't been touched probably since I was here last, so it's.
Is crack sealing the right solution, or should?
Crack sealing is just taking where the grass is going through, so it's fixing those.
You have to do that.
Then the mastic is fixing that
Okay.
bad spot.
Okay,
instead of
thank you.
doing
So it's like
concrete.
taking it out.
It's taking instead of doing concrete. The thing on that curve probably should have been concrete, but this is a Band-Aid really, because it could be in a couple years replacing. I know years ago we fog sealed it. That would be something that we need to look at too, maybe for, I don't know, next year if we try to look at, to just put another layer of film on top of the asphalt, because it's
Mhm.
getting ate up. I mean, the sun's eating it up and it's just gonna start keeping fatiguing. And we don't wanna have to replace that, or we could chip seal or something like that. I don't know if there's any.
And with the plan for Baltic Heights, the walking paths aren't changing in any way, right?
Correct, so we
It
want
might be adding some, though, won't we? I would imagine. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
probably somewhere else. I think that's pretty full. I think we're
Unless they're running one through the middle.
There is one through the middle.
between the fields.
Through
Yep,
between the
I
field.
remember that.
yep. So that's it.
You don't
So-
want to chip seal that because of little wheels and whatever on.
Yeah,
those.
it'd be, that's why
You
we
want
want
to seal it.
or you do a slurry sealer,
Slurry.
slurry, and that's kind of rough at times, so they want that. So that's what, I don't know if that would be, if we have money available this year to, or get that done, so then
We do.
then that would be a scratch that we don't have to worry about that. The only thing would be minimal, probably to do a fog seal or something, or just a seal coat on it, wouldn't be that expensive.
Well, and hopefully we can actually use those walking paths this winter instead of covering them with snow, right? Hopefully,
I don't know.
let's all cross our fingers.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying it's gonna be worse, so,
What? I thought it was just gonna be cold.
of course, yeah, that's what, so,
No, we don't say this.
I know, I think that's all I really had for the parks, anything for Parks and Rec. I mean, the equipment's new, the mowers are new, we usually have enough money if we don't change like the expenses for like any bases for the ball field and stuff like that. That's, usually very.
Is there any other expenses that we would need to plan for in this softball? We don't have to take on any additional
Like most of the
expenses.
expense was done by the school.
School, the only thing would be not knowing the mounting hardware for that temporary fence. I think that would come with a setup, but I mean, that would be the thing is just getting those mounts put in the ground. Because I think they're more of a pound and anchor.
I can't
Is
remember if
that
the ones that are
cost?
put on or concreted in or not. I don't think, but that's an expensive system.
So I think
But
it,
is that passed through to the school since we have to?
correct, they had it,
They're.
Edward had it on his expenses, so that would be,
Might just estimate how much to.
it's,
Where it needs to be.
yeah, I know Crooks had their, engineering firm come in and GPS.
Sure.
Because it was late in the season, so they just said, you just give us a close enough estimate and where it should go, and then we pound the mistakes. So that's something, if we have the equipment, we can figure it out and do that, so I really don't see anything for parts. Equipment's pretty good, unless you think of wanting to put something aside to put a swing set up. We don't know the long-term plan of Baltic Heights plan,
Right.
but that would be the only other thing.
Here's another thing to consider. When I was talking to, Greg Barton, I asked him between the BAA, softball sanction, and increased demand in fields. I said, what do we need to, meet the needs of our city? And I go, how many ball fields do we really need? And he goes, well, ideally 3. I'm like, okay. So, obviously in a magical world, 4 would be lovely, but, space, whatever. So I had a very brief conversation with Justin about this. And he said one thing to consider, especially if we did diagonal parking on Lovely, is take a look at the parking lot in the Heights and consider turning that into a 3rd field, because there's a lot of underutilized space in Baltic Heights. And so if we could eke out another field in the Heights, then that would help offset, because the school doesn't have any land to do that. So if that's something we can help with, and maybe the school would be willing to, cost share that. So we have everything we need, because I know that there was a gentleman that I spoke to whose daughter plays softball, and forgive me because I can't remember his name, but he says they have never played in Baltic. They always practices everything they have to leave town for. And I know that that's common, for the younger ages, but if we had another field, that would be it would be very forward thinking to do that. And so I don't know what the cost is to put in a field. I have no idea.
I know, for softball, it's hard for every school or every city, because I know for Tri-Valley or for Colton, they rarely get any playing time. And that's my daughter's team, they go through Cessna, because they're guaranteed fields. I mean, they play in football, because it's so hard to get field time and stuff like that. The one thing I would think of is, and I know it's, super expensive, and Colton's done it, is Musco lighting, because they usually have a 10-year plan to buy it. So I think like I'm gonna say with Colton, when they
What did you
update
call
Musco,
Let's go.
it? Musco lighting?
So what Houston Speedway uses? It's
So
like daylight.
it's so what Colton, the big field, what it was it was 250,000 for the poles and lights, but it was a 10-year payment, so it's $25,000 a year. So I mean, if we want to look at budgeting and stuff,
Actually,
then we
if you
could,
look at the numbers that we add in our mediation agreement, he's financing that over 15 years. We might be able to use those funds to get the lights.
and that's it. And then with what happened with when you were off of Tri-Valley is you had to have 2 games, but you had lights on the field, so you had a younger game for like transition, or the 10U would play first, and then you'd have a midget game afterwards, and then they'd go later. So then you had 2 games per field per night, because you could actually,
Yeah.
because everybody doesn't have enough fields, so you'd have to, lighting would be probably a thing too, if we aren't able to add another field in.
But if we
Lighting.
could finance it and we know we have an income source that offsets it already.
But the problem with taking out the parking lot, putting the field there, is you're taking out a ton of parking. And I know you have future looking, you'll have the diagonal parking around the heights and whatever, and you have that vacant lot parking, but what if that vacant lot has got a business in it?
That's gonna shoehorn.
Well,
You
here's,
know, that's
if you,
the
if you
problem.
go further north, and, because I understand what you're saying, to go further north, the, where Ryan's beloved ice rink used to be. That parking lot, that parking lot could be expanded where the land is.
Right.
There's definite opportunity there.
You can also reorganize that west field and make it into 2 fields,
Okay,
because that fence line does not need to be that deep.
well, like I said, there's
You know.
opportunity. And so I'm not saying
I mean,
it
it
has
just-
to be the parking lot, but there's also opportunity along Sixth Street that we could also have parking on Sixth Street if we wanted to do it that way. That would also slow down traffic on Sixth Street, because if you think people speed on Lovely, you should see people speed on Sixth Street. It's
I see.
ridiculous. And so having parking on Sixth Street would be a magical solution. So that's another way to offset it if we're taking, spots. I agree if that corner lot gets built, but the thing is like Del Rapids, they don't have parking lots for their park. They never have. It's always just been around on the streets and you just did what you did and walked.
Grass field there by the,
Well,
it's been years since I've.
no, you're on the other side of the river, on the north side of the river where the
Okay.
park
Yep.
proper is.
Yep.
There's never been.
Smaller.
They all park in the grass or on the road.
That's right. That's right. But it's usually along the street. And so I think that there's opportunity on Sixth Street. I think there's opportunity on Lovely, and I think there is opportunity off of Fifth Street. If we do look at a north parking lot to help kind of corral those people a little bit.
Brian, are you saying that that the one field is big enough that it could be made into 2 fields?
You'd have, yeah, it's a.
You'd have to redesign the angles and all that stuff, but yeah, there's,
It's just that,
So we actually have the possibility as it is right now to have 3
I
fields
think so.
You'd have to.
without taking the parking.
You'd have to, yeah, relay, because, and then the thing is, you'd have to look at what is the bare minimum for like a Pee-wee's baseball field, which would be the
High school.
10, 12.
And yeah, you'd have to look at.
Because then if there's like, say it's like the fields right now is 250 feet. So if they need 225, you only gain 25 feet. So you'd have to look at the other one. You'd want, like, the high school is between that 185 and 225, I think
Yeah.
there. So softball would be the same. So you'd almost want to make it feasible to always have like a Pee-wee game there, because that's going to, the baseball's going to be a lot of use also. So you'd want to make sure that you have 3 games that Pee-wees can play on it. That's like the smallest requirement you have. Because if you make it too short, then you just dedicated one field for one sport and one sport. only.
But you also lose that parking lot in the north end.
too much traffic.
Yeah. So you could have a field here facing that way.
Oh, you mean like right here?
No. Right here.
That's home plate?
You almost have to have that shelter.
Yeah, but it would be about like that. But,
The foul balls would go into the houses, right?
well, their kids don't hit it that hard, but yeah, put it that way.
I don't know if you'd want a fair part. No,
I would say that's.
Right. There's a lot of development there with the path and the gazebos.
This makes it look smaller than it seems when you're out there.
Right.
Like this
Yeah.
seems like it's small where it seems like it's bigger when you're there.
Agreed.
But yeah, one thing would be just the measurements to see where you could.
But you see here on Sixth Street where that could be, we could put parking there, but if we wanted to do that. And you have it all the way down here, I believe.
And that's
It could
it.
be
And
in the street.
and if you take away your community gardens, you're there.
Oh, yeah, the community garden, that was just a place.
I don't think we talked about that, parking stuff there.
That actually is a really good idea.
Maybe we should have a park planning, meeting, because we've already put the money in front of it.
All right, Linda's.
Get on track. You're not on track.
So,
Next thing.
Budget planning. It's
Yeah,
also budget planning.
yeah.
Linda's yelling at us. Keep moving. Do we have a safe?
He wants to be, yeah.
Do we have a safety play?
So. Emergency,
No, I was just saying like safety, like,
public safety,
yeah.
that's political.
That's what we mean the police force.
So that's police, 21,000 for the fire department. They requested that amount, and then it's 10,000 for the ambulance. The dollar, sorry.
Okay, so I was gonna say, the next ones are, Randy from the school had reached out to me saying that they were having troubles getting one of the flashing lights working. He goes, I'm not sure the age of it, but it's kind of like, it's always
the
been.
pedestrian limits,
What's
the
that?
pedestrian limits.
Yeah, but not, or the speed limit one.
The school speed.
Oh, the top of it. the
Yeah.
school-
Children presence.
He's just saying that, they got it working, but it took a lot, it's you can't like, now it's almost like a Bluetooth hookup to the program and stuff now, this I think is old, where they actually have to wire and hook into it, the cord. So he's just saying it's not working, it might be on its last leg, so he just budgeting purposes, he's like, maybe.
You guys have LEDs and stuff.
Replace it and stuff like that. So I was just, just on the internet, $2,700 for one of them. So I was like, we put like $3,000 for, or 6,000 total for replacing those. So then they're updated. It's new.
So the school tap into those and just turn them on as needed, or they just timers or?
Correct. Yeah, well, yeah, they program it. So like it is, they just go up to it. Or I think the deputy, the SRO usually is one that programs it, sets the times and stuff like that. So, yeah, we don't have to do anything with it. I know Del Rapids, we did, but.
For their hard expense.
Correct. It's our sign in our streets.
Yeah.
So they just do the work on it
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I think they've always maintained it. I've never replaced any batteries or anything, but solar.
Maybe time if you got one of the last like to upgrade or something.
Yeah, yep. So that's just a thing. I don't know if we want to look at trying this, that's $6,000 there to look at if we have available. And then also, just with the crosswalks, I just got a quote from Dakota Traffic Solutions for, those weighted pedestrian signs that are on the drop in the center of the street. Those are, what?
What's it weighted?
It's a rubber mat
It's a rubber mat. and
with
it's
the,
got
with
little
the thing that says yielded crossing.
Okay.
Pedestrian.
You've probably seen them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Those are $400 a piece.
I'm not a fan of those. And the only reason why is you got the labor putting them in and taking them out. Someone's gonna run them over. I mean, they couldn't even get around the cones.
Especially when you get to farm. Hey, we're already on my.
And it is. It's something that you'd have to.
On either
dedicate
side of the
money.
streets.
And every afternoon.
I think if you,
They were there this
it's wide enough of your perimeters,
Lovely.
whether it's cones or lights or flashing.
I think somebody.
That's what I thought, whatever.
Yep.
I think that's the prices.
And with the pedestrian signs, I mean, we've got everything kind of specs, state law and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
That's
There
what
was-
we do. So that's it. So that was just, I got a price on those with, just to see if that was a way to slow down.
As soon as somebody runs over that, like, Brian, then, we'd be out $400.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You ran over the light post at weird.
I didn't run it over. I hit it with the moped.
Did you move it?
It's the first day of school, and I think I moved one of
Yeah.
the.
Just so that's a little here. That's fine.
Thank you.
But then I saw Trista Bolton in a place I school bus traverse those cones. So I was like, okay, all right.
This guy hasn't made it fast, he had a huge, I don't know what it's called. Should go.
I don't.
Long construction, what do you do?
I figured they last that long. Okay, so that would be then mainly it's just, 6,000 to look for maybe for that if they're good in safety or if you put them in the streets. Then the other thing was, and we talked about this, was like the snow plow and the push box.
Yeah,
With the one that we have, it's to replace all the edges and then the wings, it's $4,000.
I think we talked about this last
So-
winter.
So I got a price on a new push box, which would be almost identical to what the one we sold, but this would be a quick patch, so then you would have to use
So there
it.
wasn't a chain of styles, that was the big reason we got rid of the last. one.
Correct, because that one, yeah, we don't want it back there. So it's, this one's heavier duty. You can get those, the ones that are just, you use your loader bucket are 7,500.
No,
This one from Northern Truck is 12.2. I got a bid from John Deere. One was 12.9, and then another one from BMI was 12.960.
But we don't have to pay $8,000 a season just replacing the bottom rail.
Correct. This is a rubber, what did he say? It's a rubber with wire infused edge or whatever, so
yeah, you'll still go through it.
it'll burn through, but it's not
It's
like.
easier on the road and it's cheaper.
Correct.
Weren't you looking at a blade for the other truck too as well?
No, we have a blade. Oh,
For the old, for the
Yeah,
other.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that this last
Yep.
year. Is that under this, so still?
Would you
We're
keep
hoping
the
that what's that?
Would you keep the foreign one for cul-de-sacs and stuff then?
Correct. That and.
So then you're talking a quarter of the miles that it would put on.
Correct. It would possibly last all of multiple seasons because it'd be going to the cul-de-sacs. It'd still be getting ate up, because that's chip sealing and stuff like that. But it's just so much handier to not leave all the snow in the cul-de-sac and then we push it all down. No.
Right, so how long do the edges last currently using it, 95% of the rest?
So I just, after we replaced it and got that plow fixed and the hard part is doing the downtown, it lasted, well, I replaced it twice, so it really, once that would last a season and a half, but that was doing all the downtown push box. So going out and just doing minimal on the streets.
So if you could just knock the hard parts down, what's capable of and designed for, you're probably talking 5 years
Yeah,
on the set edges.
yeah,
Street use.
yeah.
Well,
Unless something would come up where it would be one of those big snow events too, where that thing can go 16 feet, so I can clear so much more snow faster to get stuff opened up a lot faster. But then that's where another thing is looking at a bigger directional plow, which would be, another 2 feet would make, by the time you make passes, that's, 8 more feet. So it's 2 passes down the streets or 1.5 down the heights roads.
You know what it costs to put an edge on that snow box with the rubber edge?
Though I don't know how on that.
You'll eventually replace them with hardened steel edges.
You think so? We had the old one. That thing lasted. We never replaced it.
Really?
Just
So I'm
kept
just
slowing it
thinking
down.
on just a sheer
Ah.
save of maintenance.
It would,
You'd have it paid for in 5 years, just by not having to put.
Correct. correct. Yep. So that's one aspect, and if there would be money available on the streets or anywhere, I'd love to get that push box because actually Northern Truck has one on order. And they're getting one in a couple of weeks.
You don't need the other two. That one would be fine. From Northern Truck, the cheaper one, because they got universal fits for loaders.
Or which one?
Do we have that in the
Cheaper one or
budget?
this one?
Northern Tool or Northern.
So
Truck.
can we afford to spend that this year and get that for him?
Or we can just look at budgeting. And then the other thing would be just a standard plow, like what we had, that 10-footer, go to a 12-footer. That one was, the best price was BMI. And it's the same manufacturer of that other plow, but it's just a standard directional plow with a standard cutting edge, not the Tardos.
For the loader?
Correct, and that one's 10,340, so that's something we can get by with the other one. I think I'd have to replace that. The only thing with that one is I'd have to replace edges on that one. And the edges on that will cost probably right around $1,500. So that's like $1,500 for that one. And that'll give me,
But then that's 6 years of the next season, we do this for this season.
How do you go through so many edges when you never use the hump pressure?
depends on what. There's down pressure on it.
Side joke.
It is an inside joke because road graders we use down pressure to cut the snow and our streets are snowpacked.
You wanna give me a blade?
I would love to give you a blade.
That would fill a budget, that would fill a whole year's budget.
I would love for you to have a blade.
I could, yeah.
You want a snow gate with that?
Yeah, so they put a snow gate on.
Oh, boy, you think you get phone calls now, we think you get that on there.
Yeah. So that would be another thing. I would say if we could,
Ugh.
to save on that, it's almost, if we get another winter, even pushing the downtown. With what this would save in time, like for the heavy snows, we had way too much snow, so I can't really judge it off of normal snow. Back in the day with that other push box, I think I would start at 4:30. And I'd be out of here by 6:37 before like the daycare opened up with pushing all the snow on it, like a 5-inch, 4-inch snow. The whole downtown would be clean and then I could go everywhere else. with that little one, it took literally, well, you saw how much I had up there. I mean,
Yeah.
it took days because it's just the volume of this would be probably 2.5 that. So it's just,
That'll work fine on side streets, straight side streets.
well, see, this is just a straight push box.
Right.
But if I had to, push snow off or something like that,
You can use it for more than just down, we're focused on more than just downtown.
no, it's a standard push box. So I mean, parking lots, I mean, anywhere else, but it is standard. There is no way to open it up. So it is.
Well, yeah,
standard.
yeah, I'm just saying, you can use it.
Yeah, we've used the old one when we had to widen the streets. You could use that,
Shoot,
because
yeah.
you're doing 14 feet instead of 10 feet or 8 foot with a loader.
Yeah.
Side streets are pretty much use pick up and plow exclusively.
And the loader and that plow.
And the plow attachment for the load.
So, yeah,
Not the 4-in-1, but the standard.
the standard one, yep. That 4-in-1 would be for the cul-de-sacs or anything where,
Hard to reach,
yep, have to move some snow around and,
just trying to get an idea of what you're working.
yeah,
So let's talk about bike trails.
we got the snow blower for that. That's the only other thing is we don't have a plow that can go on the bike trails. So it'd all be snow blower, and I guess I didn't even think about looking for a lane for a skid loader.
Well-
But more likely, a broom would be nice, because
You
then,
got a plow for the pickup, right?
yeah,
How big of a plow? 12 foot, 10
no,
foot,
no.
8 foot?
8.5.
Okay, how wide is the bike trail?
Well, it's 8 foot, so you could articulate it and go down.
Yes, that's what Park and Rec does. And then, your snow blower attachment for your skid loader, that should be more than strong enough.
Yep, oh yeah, no, that's it. The only other thing would be a broom.
Yeah, the broom would be nice for the light.
Well, light, and then after you plow it off, go back and clean it off.
Yeah,
So
A wiper blade for the phone, that's good. Loader.
we do have one. We got the other door. We went up and got the other door for that. And that one's on there, so.
Is that all fixed and back? They get that,
No, I gotta go pick it up. Yeah. The snow blowers.
that ends up getting covered.
They haven't ever sent us a bill. It's still down there, so I just haven't picked it up. So
So how much is a broom?
$3,500.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't.
Check that surplus site,
They're amazing.
That's to find a used one for limited usage.
because that surplus site has all kinds of things that you might be able to use. And a lot of things you can't use.
So, yeah, so realistically, if we're able to squeeze a push box this year, would save
Linda said to us,
that.
Yeah.
And then it's also.
Check out that website. Okay, you have
A
looked
lot
at
of
it.
the time when the equipment is,
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Well, you
but
get.
then, yeah, and then I can just replace that just on that. And then we can get by and see what we have, try to budget if we can't get it. The only thing would be this, it's just speed it up and going with Grant Park and Phillips Crossing. I guesstimate that's gonna add another 2
Oh,
hours.
yeah, you
maybe
just, park feels.
that's why I was asking.
There, yeah.
add in about another 2 hours of snow removal probably,
And
so.
then you have more bike trail.
The unfortunate part is with just 2 pieces of equipment, it'll take us a full day literally to clean snow. So it's good, but
I wish I was only a day process.
some people might not. It's gonna be where
Yeah.
we start at
Yeah, I understand.
2:30, it'll be
Yeah,
probably
you're into it at least 12 hours.
2:30 into the afternoon before we have town 100% open.
Yeah.
So that's just the
I
downside.
think if we just communicate what the plan is, then people will understand and we can level set expectations.
So that's why I'm looking at a bigger problem.
Track running thoughts was what we're looking.
I think we should put a tracker on fast.
Sometimes it's 3 days before I can get.
I see walls. I've always said it'd be nice to get it louder back up the
I
line.
mean,
You can hear it.
And then also, we should alert everybody that I'm going out the house and at 2 in the morning.
It's,
If I'm up.
once,
great.
well, see, that's part of the.
The tornado alert, should we do that?
So, no,
Every time you declare a snow alert, that means you have permission to go out. So that's whenever Sioux Falls declares a snow alert. There's snow event, snow alert, whatever, we will be going out. And it takes, for my route to get plowed, it takes at least 36 hours to plow just my route.
Well, we've been really diligent about making sure we have all citizen phone numbers on that text service. So we've had really great coverage on that. And so we'll continue to be diligent about that. So,
So since this is
Well,
preliminary,
hopefully it'll be additional streets this next year. So
You need the box blade for downtown, just because you have no place to put the snow.
it takes so long
And
and it pushes so far.
Even the fire
Yeah.
department too.
You need a weed burner, size of a blade.
So then I would say if just, I mean, since this is preliminary. You get a plow next year would be 10 grand. A broom, probably 5 grand at least, so 15, so, and then those signs would be looking at 21 to 25,000.
but we have money this year for that, don't we?
yeah,
No, I mean the plow, a different plow, not the push box,
Okay.
a plow, a
for
bigger
the,
plow.
for the extra truck.
No, this would be for the
Yes,
loader, this would be for the loader to get bigger. I got the broom, figured 5K for that. I might be paid, I don't think they're
Would you
that.
trade up the smaller plow currently?
We tried, if we could surplus it, or if they take it, because we surplused it 2 years ago or whatever, when they got that one.
Oh, that one never sold, the plow
They
is,
did so luckily we had it.
Did you try Blue Wave?
no, I think we had offers, I think we did auction or offers or something like that.
Yeah, just on, so that's when MCWC bought the old push box and then nobody bought the old plow, which was great because I needed it one that just were gone.
Kind of saved us. That was good.
It did. If we wouldn't have had that, it would have been
So you understand what you're gonna have this year versus next year then?
correct. Push box this year and then we'll see what's available for budgeting, everything going on. So that was kind of everything that I really had for big capital expenditures, streets, to see what money's available and
So like
like,
put our name on that. Use for a way to look at it.
Put it on next month's,
Yeah.
but
I don't let somebody else get that.
well, call them right away tomorrow and say earmark it for us,
Yeah.
get approval here in a month and let you know that.
Then that'd be fun.
Yeah, there's.
No, I like that.
They sold us our boss pump for the big one, so. What's that?
equipment wise, how are we sitting on everything else? Is there stuff that needs to be surplus, moved out? You know, we talked about the horse truck at one point.
Yeah, we're using everything at different times. I mean, that little truck is good for like picking up chips and dumping to the sweeper, or even cleaning up not chips alone, just sweeping the streets. It's handy. It's on. Yeah, it's used in town and all, and very little outside of town, because it's just
Right.
that way. The big truck's kind of the same thing. You go down to Sioux Falls to get salt. Some of those things are kind of questionable. I think, saying salt, I think we were able to budget it, we'll have to buy salt and county gives us whatever their bid price is to go get salt. So we'll just give more salt, so we have our base full. Yeah, I think on that, streets are fine. Ager lime, we have some ager lime. I think they have enough to kind of touch up stuff. So we've got our pile still out there to fix up the fields we have.
What about, I don't know if this is anybody's thought process either, but what about paving the parking lot up at the Heights?
It's not, not
It's
bad.
not a priority, but
I mean, it needs a little bit of work as far
Yeah.
as smoothness goes. And if a guy
It would-
put a grade on it,
It's got a good base. Again,
right, it does.
it's probably the driveway, it's down the slope and the driveway washes it out.
Yeah,
and it really should have curb and gutter and drop in. That's for like.
right, and it'd be nice to have quarry gravel at the driveway at the entrance, but your next rain, you're gonna have that all washed in the ditch,
Yeah,
you know?
that's why, we put ballast in there, then it's too rough, and then that
Yes.
just. Wash
I
forward.
would slip it into the improvement plan of the Heights Park, just to add it to the expense list to see what phase that possibly slip. And maybe it's already got that on there.
I don't think we've ever talked about paving the parking lot.
So,
Is it phase number 39?
and then water and sewer, I think everything's going, we'll have to look at it, and those funds, we actually have funding available in reserve, but the wireless water readers, they're getting towards the end of their lifespan, so we probably should start looking at, and I'll get prices on starting to replace like a quarter of town. And then the next year do another quarter, because they always said 20 years was the lifespan on the batteries for those things. And 08 is when they went in, so we're
Yeah, right.
we're at that point where it's going to might get some of those starting to fail. So it's just one of those things that we will do. The meters themselves will be good. They don't have, a lot of use. They say that you should replace them, but it's more the meter heads.
Does the lead test cost us anything to do?
That's really, none of that stuff's gonna really cost us. It's more of the preliminary information now. And then it's kind of set up, if it would be something where we find out that we have a lead line or someone has a lead line, that would be a cost to remove. But that will come through in the next year or two after all that stuff gets,
And that's something
All the
we pay for,
documentation.
that's something the landowner.
that will be something that would
Was
have
that
to
what
be.
the surcharge was on there for?
What's that?
For the beacon surcharge, was that for meters?
Back in the way.
Which means we'll have to do that again then.
We'd have to
No,
get-
well, usually for the replacement, I think a head is, I'd say $200 or $250. So if you say we have 100 meters every year, we replace that $20,000, right?
For 4 years or.
Yeah, so $20,000, we should have enough money just to, use what we have in funds.
Okay.
Or it'd be a very minimal charge.
So we could replace the mosquito surcharge with a meter surcharge.
The mosquito surcharge pays for the chemical side of it. That's the great thing about that. And then that's, we have a guaranteed, expense, but it doesn't cost us anything, so we've always used that for chemicals to get the grant from the state, but then also in so many years, we replace the equipment on that. And that goes into the safety stuff too, so
Nice. What else?
that's all I think I really had for big numbers.
Sure.
I mean, the street improvements, paving, that was right around 50,000. I mean, it's always great if we do more,
Mhm.
but Lovely is going to be a big expense someday.
Yep.
I mean,
We talked about that at length here, there's just
well,
big picture stuff, the streets wise, talk about revamping the chip seal map. Including, doing a drive around town to figure out what roads are gonna have to be redone, Viking's terrible, so for off-road course going down Viking.
oh, you mean for the,
Get weight and stuff, and all that stuff, or just taking inventory of what expenses we can expect down the road, what's gonna have to be done.
third is,
Or Third Street, Fourth Street. Yeah, I mean, we might have to,
and that's
years with chip seal and mill overlay. Figure things out.
hard part is that, no, I don't know, what number, but
Yeah, yeah.
so that's that. I mean, you look at Third Street, like you said, there's nothing under, it's a very thin layer of asphalt and. Because when I had all the companies looking at they looked at it, they're like, this is more of a street replacement rebuild.
On
So
top of the hill, where you're talking.
all the way down, yeah, pretty
From
much.
Lovely to the school, top of the school, old school.
Well, then.
Well, we need to
down
look
the
at
church
Fourth Street too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that
Right,
direction.
the Johnson House, that's,
I got football kids around.
yeah, so
So the fundraiser.
those are the things that we have to look at, and that's pretty.
Good for them.
$100,000 just to not do anything underground, just to remove, put gravel base back in. Yeah, asphalt.
Yeah, it's good. If they show up.
Can we survive an 8-year
It's a kid.
span on chip sealing on our roads?
They don't. They'd like you to do it even faster than that, but I try to work it out with what we get for the street assessment. So I, figure out so it doesn't come out of any budget line. We use just what the street improvement money is. I do that,
Oh,
so
nice.
adding-
Okay, nice.
eventually we'll say in 3 or 4 years, we'll start doing Grant Park and Phillips Crossing. That's a lot of street. So right there is almost 2 years by itself.
Okay.
So right there, we went from a 7-year to 9-year plan, but we increased our funding. So with what we get charged to do the project, we can maybe shorten it up. So maybe it would be an 8-year.
So
plan.
what funding source pays for that?
What's that?
What funding source pays for that?
The street assessment, the dollar? It was,
All that, your frontage,
yeah, the frontage, sorry, the street assessment frontage
And that
tax.
pays for it? Okay,
Yep, that
Cool.
does. We just haven't done chip sealing, but that's what it's intended for,
Cool.
chip sealing and cracks.
I like it. Okay. What else? Okay, what's next?
I always think of other things, so
Well, this is just our first round.
I know, so it'll be something we'll come up later.
What's next in this plan?
Water and sewer budget.
Water and sewer? All right, what do we got?
Self-explanatory. Water. You put a big share of wages into there. Because it's successful account. We want to spend it all. Services, 52,000. It's engineering services in there that we eventually can get back from, turn them in for our loan. SRF loan, but I'm kind of hesitant to do that until we find out if that would activate our loan.
Right,
You
If we
request any
start
funds
drawing
and you
down.
can-
So I'd rather wait until construction starts
makes
before
sense,
asking for any drawdowns.
sure.
Rentals, repair, and maintenance. We did have, or they had utilities. The water purchase was under utilities and that was very misleading. So we put water purchase in its own line item because that's like 90,000 decided.
Where's that at?
It's about halfway down. Water purchase MCWC underwater,
Water expenses.
water expenditures. It's like,
Oh, got it. I was looking,
yeah,
never mind. Okay, I'm with you.
that's a guess. It might not be that much. And then we had our principal and interest because 2 loans get paid for this year.
In January.
Yeah,
Oh, that
one water and one sewer.
So hey, when we get the fee increases that are coming, where does that? Is that coming? Are we budgeting for that?
This SRF repayment,
The red there.
the surcharges,
Well, aren't we having fees increase?
the surcharges.
Sorry, on.
Oh,
Yeah, the surcharge, our water bills already went off.
yeah, but it's separate, separate. Are you thinking we're getting a fee increase from Minnehaha Community Water?
Yeah,
We haven't got notice of.
No, but that's when I would say, with them building a new plant, that's one thing where they're trying to figure out allocations to communities and to their own users. So that's gonna be something coming up, what we can get in the contract for our purchases, I think we're at 250,000 a day. Where if we want 400,000 or something, that's gonna come up into debate on what they're gonna allow us, for our needs and for our growth. I know Banner had already supplied that information, and I think it was, not 450 that they figured future growth that Baltic will need.
because don't we fill and empty our water tower twice a day?
Yeah, so with that purchases, that increase is gonna come with a cost. So it's like we're going to pay to fund building that facility if we want 400,000 gallons, it might cost the city $400,000 for that upfront. So that is.
When do we get that? When are we gonna know?
There's still, MCWC is still working on that, so I haven't, really had any contact with them to say, what they're looking at. They're still trying to figure out between the 2 entities, Big Sewer Water and how their plant is going to go. So they're working on their allocations, their funding sources to make sure it's what they can put into it. And then after that, then they're going to come to the communities that they supply.
So then with that in mind, does it make sense to start looking into a second water tower since that was in the original ARPA grant? Because obviously somebody,
Pass. So they, so for them not to have to fill it twice a day, it'd be great that for most water systems, they want it, so you have a day, so they're not thinking, like
Right.
for us, if something happened and something went down, we would be for water. You usually want a day supply on hand where we don't have that. But we're so close, it's easy. But most of the times you have that much capacity on hand that you're not using your complete tower twice a day.
somebody along the way, when we were looking at the Biden books, thought the water tower would be I mean, it was in the original application and somehow it got taken out. So that makes me think that somebody who knew the details thought we needed another water tower. So I'm just,
I didn't even talk about, yeah, I know.
because if we're filling a water tower twice a day, that tells me we need another water tower. And then if we build another 127 houses,
Well, we should have a water scheme somewhere.
And you do have,
which is why I think they asked for a water tower initially, and I don't know why it was taken out. Because that would, to me, that would,
It's probably way up there.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at those and see. Why,
but those are things that, so rural water will be coming at some point with what they're thinking it's gonna cost and what every entity would have to, or what pretty much what per 100,000 is going to cost if you want that water for the future, so.
how are cities gonna pay for this?
They can get, same thing, SRF, they can get funding from, I know with
But
MCWC,
then that passes on to the
15 years
homeowners.
ago, they, Fulton hooked up and they got a grant to build, their portion, they had to get a line to the water tower that is east of Fulton, the big one, they're 500,000 gallons. But they got their portion covered, MCWC got their portion, but then there was the grant or the loan that you still had to pay for, so I know Fulton was like $500,000 loan back then. Just for their service to tie into the rural water system.
And we don't have any control over this because they're coming to us with this amount. We have to figure it out.
Going to, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Do we know the timeline of when that's gonna happen?
no,
Okay. I just think it's important homeowners are aware that this is coming down the pipe.
Their town's much worse off than ours. When it comes to water,
Oh, yeah.
what's the little city just to the east of Brookings? Aurora. They've got, it's like $100 a month and a surcharge, so we're looking pretty good here.
Oh, no, we are very well positioned, but we're still underserved. You know, so, okay, with more houses coming, so it's prudent for us to talk about this.
So this 54,485 is what we, thought we might have been a little low on that. Would be the SRF repayment. And then, of course, that's revenue and expenditure, it zeros itself out.
Of course, yep.
And then otherwise revenue is pretty simple. We were pretty far ahead on water sales for the year, so we up the budget next year. But you never know,
Right.
rain all
You can't-
summer.
You can't count on it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's all a guess with utilities. We increased penalties. We discovered we were bringing in. We should be bringing in money. I don't know why it doesn't show it. I'll have to look that. Something's going wrong there. So anyways, sewer, the same thing, nothing new. SRF repayment, and I don't even know if that's gonna start next year. So this money might just stay in the bank
Sure.
because their loan papers, their bond papers assumed it would start from 2025
Interesting.
repayment. So it
So
all
we're kind of
depends.
building up a kitty towards it.
Yeah,
I think it's smart.
yeah.
It's
yeah.
very smart.
Because we need to, if we can like. Just keep all of that money for that loan, maybe we can pay it off early
That's exactly what we want to do.
for the future, you know, instead of. Cause these new loans are now 30 years, which I hate to see, but
Is the interest rate okay?
yeah, it was like 2.125, I think. 2.125.
No, because we're getting that payment at the end of September, or we're supposed to be getting that payment at the end of September. From the mediation.
Oh, I didn't,
Yeah, we'll be getting a payment by the end of September. So,
235.
mhm. So we may have to have a conversation about what to do with that. Okay, I
yeah.
don't want to talk about it until we have it though.
Yeah, I mean, the interest you're gonna pay is just scary. I believe it.
I know one of the things for the water projects is the tie-in down Third Street that wasn't in the original loan for that.
How much is that gonna run?
Okay. That's, we'll go out for bids. That's what Justin was working on. So that's where it's
Yeah.
gonna go.
Taking
through
an
the
audit
budget.
in trailer park and routing around there.
Okay,
So that's gonna be, it's gonna be expensive because you're pushing more on.
well, do you think it'll be more or less than 200,000?
It's gonna be probably right at 200,000.
Okay.
And if we can get it to work, we can put it in Boulevard. And make it work so we're not digging up the street. So
Okay,
that's our plan, is to put it in the Boulevard, shoot across to the south side of Lovely Avenue and then tie it into Third Street.
okay.
So there's very minimal road.
Well, there goes our check. Okay, well, at least we have it. Okay,
Having to dig up a water main underneath this adult piece of property, 5 years or 10 years, whatever. it's-
well, and
That
then,
makes that.
are you gonna install a shut off valve? Because it's my understanding there isn't one right now.
There is, well, there is, but you got to shut off how many valves to get one area shut down. So,
Mhm.
but then it makes that land more developable because you don't have a water main running right down the center of it.
And then that crater in there, that's the,
That is a water service, or a meter pit that was there.
okay,
So once that is vacated, that whole area is vacated, as long as it's off the main somewhere in there. Don't really know where the water main is up there, the map shows, so I would think that once it's shut off, it's.
I think I know who you can call to find out.
well, when I talked to Bud, he drew me a picture and he said, there's no shut off here. And then I went, Ed was with me when I had that conversation. And we went straight up there and I said, this is what he told me, this is how he described it. Here's my picture on a napkin, and Ed seemed to understand what was going on. So maybe a conversation, but it's a good idea.
Yeah, there is a shut off on the south side, there isn't one on the north side.
Right,
So,
he said there isn't one on the north side.
so to shut it off, you have to go to Elm Avenue and then Oak Avenue. And then you can shut it off Avenue.
Yeah, he was adamant that we understood that, so. Okay,
Next, we're gonna go through these little special accounts. What's inside in there? I asked Betsy from Game Fish about this special park fund.
where are you at?
Oh, I'm sorry, these that say special park fund. From a yellow, from a, yeah. I don't have.
Mine's pretty yellow.
Okay, that's the whole there.
No, it's, yeah.
Okay, I know I redid them.
What's it? We see.
Oh, you got it. Thank you.
It might be in black and.
Yes, definitely.
It's in black. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We got you. But, he said, you know, if anyone ever designated so much money to go to parks, that it would have to be put in a special account. So we might as well just leave it. And we did bring in 942. Thank you, Lacey Harrington, for the driveway festival.
Whoop, whoop.
Good job.
And, then we have the gross receipts that has increased. And we earmarked 5,000 for software, 6,300 for promotions. Because that's what it's meant for, or that's what it was designated for in the past.
Is that for like our new Microsoft licenses?
Sure.
Okay.
Whatever you decide.
Okay.
And then the street assessment, we talked about that earlier, that's been doing good. We raised that to 50,000. We have a new city celebrations. It's been in there, but we've never earmarked it before. And, so based on this year's, we put 4,000 in expenditures, 8,000 in revenue.
Perfect.
And then I didn't, 4,000, and hopefully we can build it up. Yeah.
Sure.
And, Lacey Harrington gets donations. Like she did this year. And then we had capital projects. Now, last year we made a decision not to transfer 25% of sales tax.
Because we were building a base.
Try to
Yeah.
build their general fund.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that for another year. That's a big chunk of money going in here.
How much money we got in that,
It would have been $60,000 coming out of general fund and going into this cap. I know that, you know, it's good to have this, but
We need it to operate.
there's a lot of money.
Yeah, we need it to operate. So what's the balance of that right now then?
And I'm sorry, but at that point, they were putting 60,000 in capital improvements, but then supplementing. You know, so it was a wash.
Right.
But how much do we have in capital projects? Oh, I didn't run that report. I'll go run it.
that was interesting.
That's a different fund. This is fit money. And this we don't touch, or we haven't. But we also have some little savings, some accounts from here that build every year. And that's where we took this remodel out of. This year is the capital projects. So we took it out of improvements. So that was nice, and we'll find out who's gonna run that.
So did we figure out what our obligations are to these South Dakota Fed accounts?
Or what?
Like, are we obligated to have an earmark for this? Can we move it? Can we touch it? Or it has to stay here and it has to be spent by this stuff?
No, one council can't control the next. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I mean, if there was a loan and you had to earmark 40,000 a year to pay it back, that's one thing,
right.
but. It's good, you know, you spend it on capital projects,
Mhm.
but,
But also, don't you think it's smart to have at least, like, we have 600,000 in there right now? Should we, doesn't it make sense to like keep a really strong base in here in case of emergencies?
it is nice to have.
Cause like, what's our operating budget right now?
It's up to 900 for general fund.
So it almost makes me wonder if we can't try to figure out how to build this to at least 1 year of operation budget, you know? If that makes sense.
The fit money, you mean?
Yeah. So at least we have something somewhere
Well,
in the
we
event
did-
something crazy
I
happens.
never wrote this report for you guys. I was gonna do it, got distracted by, there is these, report every month that shows. Oh, it's so close.
At what point in time does it make sense to pay off some of these loans? I mean, if we have the ability to pay them off early, does the interest make sense for it to do it or not?
And there's not much interest left towards the end of the loan.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
You see, it's disbursement.
Yeah, because you're probably paying all the principal now today.
Yeah, or what interest rate on that?
Can you print me?
Probably, yeah, probably very, very small, just like reduction in interest.
Yeah. I'm paying mostly principal, so.
Yeah, there's this one loan that I had highlighted and then I thought, oh, well, what can we do? You know, this 30-year loan, CW number 3. That $705,000 loan, we will end up paying $400,000 interest on.
That's insane.
It's a 30-year loan. Those 30-year loans kill you, but the yearly payment's already 37,000. So it would have been like
So it's just got.
sky high
What
if
was the
we
rate on it?
3.25.
Right? That's a good interest rate.
Yeah.
Seems like.
That was back in 14, so it's 10 years old now, it's got 20 years to go. But our interest in the last 12 months was 18,000, so we're still paying half the loan payment in interest 10 years later, almost 9 years later. So I thought, oh, that'd be nice to put these other 2 loans on. or at least one of these that's getting paid off.
And like snowball it.
Yeah, but you know, that's hard to do too. It's hard to promise that money every. It's hard to promise it, you know, because something's always coming. Might need a new lagoon, who knows what we'll need by, 5 years. But even to do it for a while might be nice. To try to do it for 4 years and cut down on that payment. It's
Well, why not? Why not at the end of the year? Whatever money that's left over or whatever,
Lump it.
put some towards that, some towards this loan, some towards that.
Better option on.
Huh?
Better go.
But the hard part is waiting on.
Well, or when it comes to loans, but
Yeah, that's one with the the other yearly interest payments aren't that bad.
We're,
Just
you're
one,
talking,
18,000.
but you're talking about clean water and drinking water, right?
Clean
Those are
water free.
enterprise funds, you can only, you're only supposed to use the funds for those. So the general fund
You
dollars.
can't, you can't just.
No, it would be the sewer fund, the sewer loan that's getting paid off. This one here, that's, we pay 30,000 a year, or 29,000, 28,000 a year on. If we could put that onto this clean water loan.
What are the interest rates on the top three loans?
They're up, it's off to the right.
Yeah. 3.5, 3.5, 3. Oh, these general fund ones,
The US Bank Clerk versus the pickup dump truck and the Open Door.
I'm not sure. They weren't really bad.
It doesn't seem that bad when you look at them.
Yeah, they don't say that, but I don't think they were more than 4.
Yeah, I think they're originated in pretty good interest rate times, so.
And these 2 here were, the interest we paid 500 last year in interest on those 2. The Oak and Douglas still has 5 years to go.
That US Bank core will be done in July,
Yeah.
just only July.
Yeah. Also, the 2 SRF loans gone in January, that'll free up some.
So I mean, that's a thought, to try to do that until disaster strikes or something and.
You're talking
This stuff.
$3,000 a year just to get no more loan payments,
That's crazy.
which will get gobbled up.
Somewhere else.
No time.
And what else?
So, it would be nice to be able to do that.
What's next?
Even for a couple of years. I've cut down on interest. But by then we're gonna have that $50-some thousand payment on the other funds. What kind of two? So we got these and cash balances that shows what we have in general fund,
Bless you.
the park fund,
Yep.
third penny. Street assessment, we're building up some money in, but we haven't gotten all of our expenses in there for this year.
Right.
So this is money besides what is in. Oh, no, this 501 and 502, that did come out of these special funds we looked at, not that, but just special.
Yep.
So we have a little money in there, capital projects. We're taking 36,000 out of that, actually.
Anybody have questions on cash balances?
So we are building some up in, general fund, but we don't have all our, expenses. This is fine. We don't have all our expenses in there.
Okay. So now we have the general fund budget expenditure worksheet and the services page, right? Aren't we on to general fund expenditure or services?
We did that.
Okay, my bad.
These services is just a FYI.
Okay.
Show you what we spent last year, that we went over budget on. And we knew with the legal fees that we would go over budget.
Well, and we're getting reimbursed for a lot of that through the mediation.
That'll be good. So kind of wonder what services is. And this is what that means.
I'm really glad you're breaking this down. I think it's important for people to see this.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
Yep.
I would like to. Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to put
What's
engineering.
INS?
I think
Engineering.
ISG. I think that's supposed to be ISG, yeah.
I think it's always been on some expense reports, isn't it?
INS, that probably goes ISG. So Lacey came up with this and it just kind of gives you an idea
I like it.
of what services means. And why, you know, it wasn't necessarily council's expenses, but that's where they went because we didn't have it. We didn't have a
Category.
legal category, which would go under council anyway, so. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like INS, that's like planning and stuff, so you really, I can't remember what exactly. But
But and Shanefish said their fees were gonna be going up, so you probably wanna plan for that.
I know.
Cause I think we're going to annual audits now.
And I tried to put, you know, I put a third of Shane Fish under water and a third under sewer. And I might increase, or Lacey might increase that. To get it out of general.
Well, and I think a lot of citizens don't understand that. We might want to create like a visual or something so citizens understand that water and sewer are a source of revenue. And so we have to pull things out of water and sewer for expenses. So when they see one amount, it's not like the total amount. So we might want to figure out how to explain that in simple terms that everybody can follow. I know when I first started looking at this, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then it took a couple times to explain it to me
We take words.
for it to sink in.
Yeah, you gotta think of it all, each as a separate business, you know.
Right.
So the wife and water and sewer, that's pay their share of
Yeah, that's right.
rent or use or
Right.
supplies or technology.
You don't want to announce that one.
We'll have to figure out some messaging on that so people can follow it.
Oh,
Really don't, because it's just, I think what you guys should do is take a look at the content of this and put it in a summarized form because nobody wants to sit and watch us talk to each other for 2.5 hours. I don't know, maybe some people do. But we should probably bullet point this and abbreviate it and give everybody kind of a
I like
rundown.
this. You
Okay,
What do you want to say about?
Okay, one thing, I see that the library roof is on here.
Lacey?
I think that was replaced a couple of years, or not too long ago. The issue with the water that's happening coming into the library is because the roof line of the doghouse and the roof line of the library are so close to each other and the buildings are so close, there is like literally a gutter that is probably 3 inches wide by about 1.5 inches deep. So there's nowhere for water to get away. And so it overflows that immediately, runs in through the roof line over there, and then it runs down the building and runs in on the floor
so what's the solution?
of the building.
We gotta raise the roof,
Can't you
is
make
that
a
what you're
deep
saying?
bucket to catch it in or make like a deeper reservoir to catch it in?
There's so much little, well, you could, but there is literally 3 inches in between each, so you can't. Like, I think how that little gutter is there is like when before they put the roof of the doghouse on, they put that there and then they screwed right down onto it, so. Like, there's really no way to anchor anything in there, so to alleviate some water would be great we would be the only ones able to do it, would be to change our roof line and like lean to it to the west or to the east. So then it just, all our water runs one way, but then on a heavy rain, the little drainage way off the doghouse isn't enough to get the water to shut away. I've looked at it, well, I just don't know how we can push the water fast enough away. I mean, they shouldn't have been put that close, or if they were put that close, it should have been on flat roof sloping backwards towards the back of the lots.
These slope essentially running away from wherever the water pool is.
It needs to slope away from that joint shared area, joint or shared gutter.
We probably should get some quotes on what we can do to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, the roof was, I think, replaced within the last 5 years on the library, so it's literally the water is up in there and then just seeps in through the siding and and then comes into the library that way.
Is
And
that
then
what's causing the mold?
there really isn't any mold.
Oh.
It got the sheet rock wet.
Got it.
It just stained it. There is no mold there. We had it tested and everything. It just stains the sheet rock, so.
And nobody likes that. Okay.
So, yeah, I'll take a look. There is little space. I don't know how to.
Well, there's a couple of different, companies you would probably call with some ideas. Maybe somebody wants a creative project. See what we can do.
Yeah.
Winter's coming. Okay. See what you can come up with. Anything else? You did an amazing job of making this understandable. Seriously, it's understandable. I like it.
This is much fun as this.
And you guys, it's only 7:16. I mean, this is 2 hours. We should do budgets every month.
And there was.
And it's because there was pizza and cookies. That's why.
Everything's better with pizza.
And cookies.
Cookies and pizza.
All right. Is there anything else that we need to talk about as far as budgeting go? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:16 PM.
I got a first.
I will second.
Travis has got the second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Good night, Baltic. Yay.